Good evening. Almost every day, the medical profession reminds us that smoking and drinking are bad for our health. As a consequence, many of us have either cut down or stopped smoking altogether, and low alcohol drinks have become almost fashionable. But what of the medical profession itself? The doctors, nurses and surgeons who seem so worried about the rest of us? Are they following their own advice? And if not, why not? I'm joined tonight by two members of that profession. Sheila Sabatini is a national health consultant surgeon at the Gillies Hospital, just a gallstone's throw, you might say, from this studio. And Charles Macklin-Smith is a full-time consultant in ear, nose and throat surgery at the Whitcliffe, a large private hospital. Charles, I'll turn to you first because you do smoke and drink. Now, shouldn't you, of all people, be setting a better example to the public?
Now, what you have to remember is that doctors are, first and foremost, human beings.
Oh, well, that's turned the whole debate on its head, hasn't it?
If I could just finish...
Human beings, and there were my patients traipsing in week after week, convinced I was a duck feather duvet.
Excuse me, but when I'm asked a question, I think I should be allowed to answer.
Oh, come on, Charles. All 2 million people watching this programme know exactly what you're going to say next. That human beings have vices, and doctors are no exception. At least 1 million are now scanning the TV Times for something more interesting, and dogs all over the country are being hauled out for yet another drag round the pub.
But he's got a point, though, surely.
Yes, I have. And at some juncture, I should like to make it...
The public expects doctors to practice what they preach, and rightly so. What patient is going to believe that smoking is unhealthy if a consultant surgeon carries out examinations with a stubbed-out number 6 crammed behind his ear?
I have the right, like any other member of the public, to abuse my body if I so wish.
You have the right to have it stuffed with chestnuts and served up with a Granny Smith in its mouth. Talking about moral responsibility.
But we're not just talking about cigarettes here, are we? Let's move on to alcohol for a second. I mean, some doctors consider the odd brown ale, for example, to be quite beneficial in some cases. Now, isn't that right?
Yes, it is.
Well,
now,
naturally, a bottle of brown ale now and again does no harm at all. It's the odd reservoir of paint stripper that eats away at the brain.
I take it you don't drink?
Yes, in moderation. Not quite so much as Mr. Macklin-Smith, who freely admits to soaking it up like a disposable nappy.
I think that remark is scandalous.
It's no such thing. You gave an interview to a national newspaper 2 months ago, and I quote, "Yes, I drink, sometimes to excess, it's not illegal."
I didn't say that.
It's here in black and white.
That article was fabricated. I mean, everyone knows they make these things up to sell more newspapers.
Charles, you are not Jason Donovan. That photograph alone must have knocked 300,000 off their circulation.
You're saying you weren't interviewed?
I was misquoted.
Then what did you say?
Oh, I can't remember the exact words. A man came up to me at my club one
What
evening.
time?
Ooh, about 10:30.
Oh, in that case, it's quite possible there were no exact words.
Now, just a minute.
Yes, I do think we might be veering off at a tangent.
I was misquoted, and the matter is in the hands of my solicitor.
And who are they? Swigget, Booze and Chunder?
I'm afraid we're going to have to
kind
leave
of
this very
irresponsible
interesting...
rubbish that makes the public turn to herbalists.
And there, I'm
have
afraid
made
we're really going to have to
perfectly
leave
clear
it.
that you
My
have
thanks to
not made a
Mr.
clear
Charles
statement after
Macklin-Smith
6:30
and to
tonight
Mrs.
in your
Sheila
life.
Sabatini.
I want to put on the record
Now we
right
have
now,
the
once and for
wonderful
all,
Julian
no point did I say...
Can we have the Russian ambassador on site, please?
Swigget, Booze and Chunder. I mean, for God's sake.
Gary, they're taking me up for an X-ray.
Morning.
Move my lunch with Gustav to half.
You seen the Guardian? I know. Consultant surgeon and Band of Hope mouthpiece Sheila Sabatini has the advantage over others in her profession in that she could, if last night's showing is anything to go by, harangue diseased organs into coming out with their hands up.
You should see the Independent.
I've seen it.
Well, what do you think?
Sheila, last night on the box.
Oh. Well, she came across quite well, I thought.
Quite well.
Yes, pleasant but firm.
Yeah.
I thought she made quite a favourable impression.
You didn't see it, did you?
No.
Joyce. If you tell her your best friend made a television debut last night, you couldn't even be bothered to watch.
Well, I did try. I had a meeting upstairs, so I rang Alec and asked him to record it. He couldn't find a spare tape except Sink the Bismarck. I said rub it off. He said no.
Well, he should have done. If he liked Sink the Bismarck, he'd have loved Sheila on the box last night. Guns blazing left, right and centre.
Was she really that bad?
Joyce, she was awful. Abrasive, rude, vindictive. It's all my fault.
Why?
I told her, go on and be yourself. I spent the whole 10 minutes scouring my set for an insult knob I could turn down.
Just a word of warning. George Hopewin is working in Theatre 2 this morning.
So?
My dear fellow, Charles Macklin Smith is George's dearest and oldest friend. So if you two wish to avoid bloodshed, I suggest that Sheila Sabatini work in Theatre 986, preferably with the doors sandbagged. Incidentally, anyone not seen The Independent?
Listen, I can still make lunch, but tell Gustav 3 and find out what the hell's happened to Marcia. I know what it wasn't.
George. There's no point in trying to stop it. What has to be said, has to be said. Now, I take it that you all saw the programme.
Yes. And we all know you've got every right to be angry.
Yeah, I mean, to say that your best friend is a
Hopeless, raving drunk.
Well, that was uncalled for.
I should damn well think so.
We all know it's not true.
My good woman, of course it's true.
It is.
Good Lord, yes. Chap knocks it back like a dehydrated camel.
So what's the problem?
The problem is patently obvious. If one is a hopeless raving drunk, one hardly wants it broadcast from Spithead to the Gorbals. That woman has ruined the earning potential of one of this country's highest paid surgeons. And I, for one, will not stand by without giving her the very sharpest end of my tongue. Mrs. Sabatini!
She's seen The Independent. Sheila?
I crashed my car.
Crashed it?
On the way here. Into a wall. Oh, it's all right. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm just a bit shaken up, that's all.
What's happened?
Happened?
Yeah, you know, the crash. What happened?
Nothing.
Sheila, cars don't just hurtle into brick walls of their own accord.
Well, that's a damn stupid statement. Of course they do. You think I was aiming for it?
You know what I mean.
I just wasn't concentrating on where I was going, that's all.
So what were you doing?
Reading the Telegraph. Well, it wasn't blasted all over the windscreen. It was on the seat next to me. I wanted to see what they said about that programme last night. That man is the most dung-headed, drink-sodden...
Yeah, well, never mind that. Let's get back to this crash for a second.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Whose wall do you think it was I ploughed into?
What?
You should have heard the great lump. Why are you doing this to me? As if I'm conducting some sort of vendetta.
Macklin Smith?
One does not ram a practically new Mercedes into someone's wall simply because one doesn't like them. One rents a Skoda. Merely because I suggested that if the damn thing had withstood hurricanes and the Luftwaffe, it was very probably on the verge of collapse anyway. Jonathan, I did not do it on purpose.
I know.
If it's anyone's fault, I could probably sue the Telegraph. Have you seen this?
Yeah. Consultant surgeon Sheila Sabatini has the mouth of a pit bull terrier and manners to match.
Where does it say that?
It doesn't. It says that in the Express.
It can't all be like that, surely.
No. The Independent.
I've seen The Independent, thank you. Quality press, my foot. Don't they realise people read this sort of thing and assume it's meant to be insulting?
Oh, it is insulting.
Well, yes, but it's not directed at me personally.
Oh, I see. So the description tongue on legs is a direct reference to someone else, is it?
Jonathan, you obviously don't understand the media at all. They saw a discussion last night with a great deal of topical interest, so they'd kick up a fuss to keep it going. They have simply done what any good PR person would call taking up the argument.
Sheila, they have done what you once called sticking the boot in and whirling it about.
To get me to respond.
To get you to shut up.
It's nonsense. All newspapers...
Sorry. Phone call from Mrs. Sabatini.
Oh, who is it?
Some journalist.
There. I think that proves my point.
I didn't know she crashed her car.
Who told you?
The bloke on the phone.
Oh, my God.
Hello?
Yes, it is.
No,
Could you hold the line a moment, please? Jonathan, I am trying to conduct an interview.
Well, don't look all...
Jonathan!
All right.
Thank you. I do beg your pardon, you were saying? How did you find out about that? It only happened 45 minutes ago. Yes, I did speak to the householder and the gardener, and quite correctly gave them my name, address, and a few tips for red-hot pokers. No, I had not been drinking. Do you know what time it is? Yes. Well, I would still like to know how you found out about this. Oh, he did he?
All right. Mrs. Sabatini! You know, it never used to be this difficult to have an argument with that damn woman.
Urgently is telling the deal's still on, but they're taking me up for a what?
Endoscopy.
Endoscopy, so we'll have to sign over dinner. Endoscopy. Oh, I don't know.
It's just a local evening paper. What can they say?
It's mostly all adverts anyway.
That's right.
Bricklayers, car repairers.
There's hardly any news in it.
Exactly.
Except when they get a really juicy story, they splash all over the front page.
Listen, if you two are doing nothing, why don't you go back with the patient?
Jonathan, I wish you'd stop telling me to stop worrying. I'm not worried.
Fine.
What can they say? I accidentally knocked down a small wall which happened to belong to the man with whom I had an argument on television last night. End of story.
I know. That's it.
There's nothing more to add.
I know.
I was not drunk, says Booze Band Battle Axe.
Sheila.
Happiness, happiness, the greatest gift that I possess. I thank the Lord that I've been blessed with more than my share of happiness.
Mr. Copeland, have you seen it?
It?
That thing about Mrs. Sabatini in last night's paper.
Yes, quite appalling.
It's awful.
Rarely have I seen anything in a newspaper quite so outrageously unfair.
That's what I said.
When you're smiling, when you're smiling,
Yes,
the world smiles with you.
Have you ever been in the papers?
Just the once. Just the once. Rather a stunning photograph, as a matter of fact. Rugby down at Twickenham. Yes, it was London Welsh against some inept bunch of girls' blouses from this country.
You were playing?
Good Lord, no. Now, as luck would have it, one of our glorious athletes from the valleys planted a try not 5 yards from where I was being stretchered away with suspected alcoholic poisoning. Yes, of course, one tells one's children a slightly different story. Brought down by a fearful tackle round the neck, battled on for 10 minutes in excruciating agony. They point to the photograph and say, "You played for London Welsh in a wind cheater and striped bobble hat."
And that was the only time? You've never been asked for your professional opinion on something?
Michael, I make it a rule, never make statements for public consumption. One always lives to regret it. I remember saying "I do" 15 years ago, and the upshot of that has been too gruesome for words. You see, no member of our profession can appear in print or on the television without being regarded as some kind of expert.
So?
So the public naturally gets upset when said expert reels off a dreadful lot of old twaddle.
And then you get the backlash.
Precisely, as on the front page of last night's paper.
It's awful, isn't it?
Ghastly. Happy talky.
I was not drunk.
It doesn't say you were, it says you weren't.
Joyce, everyone knows that when a cheap rag like that quotes someone as saying they weren't drunk, the implication is that they were totally plastered out of their brains.
Yes.
Well, I wasn't. I want a retraction.
Saying what?
The truth.
What's that?
I was not drunk.
Sheila, it says that already.
Oh,
Just let it blow over.
do you think it will?
Of course it will. It's just the local rag. This week it's you, next week it'll be pigeon luck on the town hall roof.
I take it that was meant to be comforting.
Well, you know what I mean. I shouldn't think anyone even buys it.
No.
I only get it for the what's on section. The rest's rubbish.
Well, sports coverage is quite good.
Well, I quite like that cartoon strip. What's it called?
Willy Tumble.
Oh, have you seen that?
I know. It's brilliant. Neil Copeland told me they're doing a book of that.
They've done it. I saw an advert for it in Friday's paper.
You're kidding!
Yeah! Oh dear, it's probably a load of rubbish.
So, you both think I should ignore it then?
Well, what else can you do?
Yes, you're right. If I take them to court, then the General Medical Council will have to get involved, and I'll probably be suspended till it's all settled. Besides, why should I be intimidated by some tin-pot little paper?
That is what I've been saying for the last 10 minutes.
Yes, I shall carry on as normal. Maintain a dignified silence.
Oh, you're here.
Yes, I'm here. Does that surprise you? No, it shouldn't. I am here because I have patients to attend to, and I shall be here day in, day out, no matter what scandalous rubbish appears about me in the press.
Well, splendid. Now that we've sorted that out, I just popped along to say that there's a man from the News of the World on the phone.
I'm not here.
I don't want to hear any excuses. When you lot went home last night, you left Theatre 3 in a complete shambles.
Cheryl, have you seen Sheila?
She told me not to say.
Where did you tell you not to say she'd gone?
In the toilet, thanks. It was a total mess. And I don't have to tell you who had to stay behind and clear it up. So, if you do get any dirty looks from that little nurse in Theatre 7, don't come running to me.
What an idea.
Joyce, not now, please.
It won't take a minute.
Well,
Now, look.
I'd really rather you left it till later.
But it's so simple. All you
Well,
have
can't
to
it
do...
wait 5 minutes?
Sheila!
Well, it's just a small, low-tar one. I was nervous.
How long has this been going on?
Not long.
Hours? Days? Weeks?
About 19 years.
Years?
Well, I gave up when I was having Daniel, and then I started again the day after, and then I packed up again when I came to work here.
Sheila, I thought you were dead against smoking.
I am. I just have these relapses now and again when I get nervous, and when I saw that headline yesterday, well, it helps.
There is no such thing as a medicinal cigarette.
No, you're right.
That's so you won't have to worry about me telling people I caught you smoking.
So, what's this idea of yours?
Well, look, it's so simple. Now, if you say you hadn't been drinking yesterday, nobody believes you.
No.
But if Macklin Smith said it, they would.
Oh, he won't do that.
Well, he might, if his dearest and oldest friend asked him to.
Hope win?
So all you have to do is sweet-talk him into it.
Joyce, do you have a lighter? I think I might need
Sheila!
another. No, well, the idea's ridiculous. George Hopewin's been gunning for me ever since that programme.
Well, just try. Now, look, he's at the Wycliffe till 10:30, so when he comes in...
No.
Oh, Sheila!
Joyce, I said no!
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt. Are you into the Sunday sport?
Quite extraordinary. Gascoigne dribbled down the left wing, passed, and then Barnes trapped the ball with his foot.
While on the turn.
Lineker moved inside and...
George.
Oh, no, not that. I think I left something in my...
George?
Before you say anything, I'd just like to offer my sympathy for the appalling way you were treated in last evening's paper. And if there's anything I can do to lend my support, please don't hesitate to ask.
Pardon?
Absolute disgrace, the way the press distort things like that.
Well, actually, there is something you could do for me.
Eh?
I wonder if you'd ask Charles Macklin Smith to tell them I hadn't been drinking before the accident.
My dear woman, I'd be delighted.
Thank you.
Under normal circumstances. Unfortunately, Charles and I aren't on speaking terms anymore.
Oh?
But George, Charles Macklin Smith is your dearest and oldest
Was, old boy.
Was.
Yes, as you know, I do an odd bit of work at the Wycliffe myself. And a few extra bob, as it were.
So?
Well, apparently, due to a certain television programme, a good many of Charles's patients have decided they'd rather be treated by someone else.
You.
Well, funnily enough, yes. And For some reason, Charles seems to think I ought to refuse.
And you don't?
Good Lord, no. I said quite flatly, if money's worth more to you than our friendship, there's nothing further to discuss. Oh, this will be a minute.
Well, that's it then.
No, it isn't. Macklin Smith wasn't the only person who saw that accident. Jonathan? Could I borrow your car at lunchtime?
Pardon?
Oh, for goodness sake, how many people do you know have crashed 2 expensive cars in 1 week?
Hello, remember me?
No?
I drove through the front wall yesterday.
Oh, that was you. Yes. You all right?
I think I've just about recovered.
Good.
Marvellous plants. What are they all?
Haven't a clue.
You are the gardener.
No, I just come in and do what I'm told. They seem to grow all right.
Yes. Listen, I wanted to ask you a favour.
Don't know what they're all called.
No, quite.
Mr. Macklin, he's the one for the plants.
Yes, so I see. And these are all his, aren't they?
All his. What kind of favour?
Hmm?
You said you had a favour to ask.
Oh, that, yes. I did want to ask you something, but on second thoughts I won't bother. Just tell Mr. Macklin Smith I called round.
Right.
And how much I admired his cannabis plants.
In phone calls to the Independent and other national newspapers, Mr. Charles Macklin Smith today sprang to the defence of Mrs. Sheila Sabatini.
After an incident in which the anti-booze campaigner was rumoured to have been drunk. Sheila Sabatini is one of my oldest and dearest friends, declared Mr. Macklin Smith. And the wall, which her car merely grazed, had been damaged in a bombing raid during the last war and had for some time been on the verge of collapse.
There was not, nor has there ever been, the slightest hint of alcohol on her breath. And whoever is spreading these malicious rumours deserves to be horsewhipped.
Now, Joyce, about the first patient.
What about this?
What about it?
Sheila, Charles Macklin Smith hates your guts.
Dearest and oldest friend, it says that.
Sheila.
Excuse me, can we get by here?
I know I said it was an ulcer. It is an ulcer!
Not still on that damn phone.
They gave me some pills, sent me home, and had to rush me back in again this morning. Because I tried to ring you and stabbed myself in the eye with a blasted aerial!
You know, it's a shame it's so early in the morning.
Why?
Like a murder in gin and tonic.